Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be exploring the life of Moses, a truly fascinating figure whose life story is just woven into the fabric of so much of history,
Yeah.
law, and faith as we know it. And we've got all our source material right here ready to go.
Awesome.
But, we all know the highlights, right? Parting the Red Sea,
You're right.
the Ten Commandments up on Mount Sinai.
Yeah.
What I find really interesting is the mystery surrounding his death.
Okay.
Why was his burial place kept secret? What can we learn from this deliberate act of concealment?
That's a great question.
It is a good question.
And it's a question that's captivated theologians and historians for centuries.
Yeah.
It really invites us to look beyond the surface of the stories we think we know
Yeah.
and kind of delve into these complexities of faith and leadership and the
Yeah.
power of symbolism.
For sure. To fully appreciate this mystery, though, we really need to start at the beginning. So who was Moses before he became this, legendary leader, this lawgiver, this miracle worker?
Yeah.
What were some of the formative experiences that really shaped his destiny?
Well, the story begins with an escape. It's dramatic. It's like something out of Hollywood.
Yoli.
Born into a time of brutal oppression for the Israelites in Egypt.
Right.
His life was actually threatened from the very beginning.
Wow.
The Pharaoh decreed that all male Hebrew infants should be killed.
Just a stark reminder of the circumstances he was born into.
Exactly.
High stakes.
High stakes. So his mother, desperate to save him, places him in a basket and sets him adrift on the Nile River.
It's a powerful image.
It is. And it's an act of faith,
Right.
trusting in a power beyond human control.
Absolutely.
And what happens, as fate or maybe divine providence would have it,
Yeah.
the Pharaoh's own daughter discovers the basket.
Right.
And she takes Moses in as her own.
That's wild. So the man who would ultimately liberate the Israelites from Egyptian bondage is raised in the heart of the oppressor's household.
Precisely. It's incredible.
It's an incredible irony.
It is. And this upbringing in the royal court,
Yeah.
it probably exposed him to the intricacies of power,
You would think.
the complexities of Egyptian society, and maybe even planted the seeds for empathy
Yeah.
for those who were suffering under that rule.
It really adds another, psychological depth to his character.
Exactly.
But of course, this privileged existence couldn't last forever.
Right.
There's a turning point. There's a moment where everything changes and he's forced to confront his true identity.
Absolutely. The source material describes Moses witnessing an Egyptian overseer beating an Israelite slave,
Oh, wow.
and consumed by anger and a sense of justice, he intervenes.
Yeah.
He kills the Egyptian and hides the body.
It's a pretty rash act.
It is. It's probably fueled by this sudden realization of
yeah.
where his true loyalty lies, but one with dire consequences.
Right, dink.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When the news of this deed spreads, Moses is forced to flee Egypt.
Wow.
He leaves behind his life of privilege and embarks on a journey into the unknown.
Just like that.
Pretty much. He finds refuge in Midian,
Okay.
becomes a shepherd, and seemingly embraces this life of quiet contemplation.
What a change from the opulence and intrigue of the Egyptian court.
It is. It really makes you wonder if this period of solitude, this immersion in nature,
Yeah.
played a role in his spiritual development.
It makes sense. I mean, if you're out there with your sheep, I'm sure you're doing a lot of thinking.
Definitely. And it's during this time while he's tending his flock
Okay.
that Moses encounters the burning bush,
Yeah.
a pivotal moment that will forever alter the course of his life.
It's one of those stories that has just resonated, through millennia.
Yeah.
But how do we interpret this from a historical and theological perspective?
Right.
Was it a literal encounter or some sort of symbolic representation of a profound internal awakening?
It's a great question. It's been debated for centuries. Some scholars see it as a metaphor,
Okay.
representing Moses' inner calling,
Interesting.
this growing awareness of the plight of his people.
Right.
Others interpret it as a genuine theophany,
Okay.
a direct manifestation of God's presence.
It makes me think about the concept of faith.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
about accepting the possibility of something beyond our immediate understanding.
Absolutely. And it's this element of faith that underpins Moses' entire story.
Right.
It's the foundation upon which he will build his leadership,
Yeah.
confront the Pharaoh,
Yeah.
and lead his people on this very perilous journey towards freedom.
But it's not blind faith, is it?
No, it's a faith that's tested by doubt,
Of course.
by fear, and by the immense weight of responsibility he's about to shoulder.
For sure. Because this burning bush encounter wasn't just some mystical vision.
Right.
It came with a very specific mission.
Yes, it did.
God commands Moses to return to Egypt,
Okay.
confront Pharaoh,
Mm-hmm.
and demand the release of the Israelites from generations of slavery.
An audacious demand.
Yeah, especially coming from a man who not that long ago was a fugitive hiding from the very power that he is now tasked with challenging.
Exactly. So how does a shepherd, even one imbued with divine purpose,
Right.
convince a powerful ruler to just let his workforce walk away?
It's a good question.
This is where we enter the realm of miracles,
Okay.
the extraordinary events that defy explanation
Okay.
and elevate Moses' story from history into legend.
I'm listening.
We're talking about turning water into blood,
Wow.
plagues of locusts descending upon Egypt,
That's wild.
and ultimately the awe-inspiring parting of the Red Sea.
It really captures the imagination.
It does.
And these events have been interpreted in countless ways throughout history.
Of course.
Some see them as literal acts of God. Others view them through more of a symbolic lens.
Yeah.
Maybe representing natural phenomena
Uh-huh.
or even just clever strategies employed by Moses.
Yeah. Regardless of our interpretation, though,
Yeah.
no denying the power of these stories. They speak to a very human desire for liberation, for divine intervention in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles.
Absolutely. And ultimately, these miracles, whether literal or metaphorical,
Yeah.
they serve a very specific purpose.
They do.
They break the Pharaoh's will.
Right.
They force him to acknowledge a power greater than his own
Exactly.
and finally concede to Moses' demands.
And so the Exodus begins,
Yeah,
the departure of the Israelites from Egypt.
a pivotal moment in their history.
It is, marking the transition from slavery to freedom,
Wow.
from oppression to the possibility of self-determination.
But this is just the beginning of their journey, though, right?
Yeah.
The Promised Land,
Mm-hmm.
a land flowing with milk and honey,
Yeah.
is still a distant goal.
It is.
And the path ahead, as we'll see, is filled with challenges that will
Yeah.
test Moses' leadership,
Definitely.
his faith,
Uh-huh.
and the very fabric of the covenant that he has forged with God.
For sure.
But we need to pause here for a moment. This is where things get really interesting.
Oh, okay.
We'll be back in just a minute.
Right after this.
Okay, so we left off with the Israelites escaping from Egypt,
Right.
this momentous occasion, marking their newfound freedom.
Yeah.
But as we dig deeper into the source material, it's clear that liberation is only the first step
Absolutely.
in a much longer and more arduous journey.
It is.
The Israelites are now free from slavery,
Right.
but they find themselves wandering in this unforgiving wilderness,
Yeah.
with their sights set on the Promised Land.
It's an interesting transition,
It is.
going from this life of structured servitude to the complete uncertainties of the desert,
Yeah.
relying only on their faith
Right.
and the guidance of Moses to navigate this unfamiliar terrain.
And it's during this period of wandering
Mm-hmm.
that we start to see a different side of Moses,
Okay.
a more human side.
Yeah.
He's not just the triumphant leader parting seas. He's a mediator.
Uh-huh.
He's a judge.
Right.
He's a spiritual guide,
Yeah.
grappling with the challenges of leading a diverse and often unruly group of people.
The sources depict the Israelites frequently complaining,
Oh, really?
questioning Moses' leadership,
Wow.
and even longing for those days of,
Oh, wow.
Egyptian predictability.
Interesting.
They faced hunger and thirst and internal conflicts.
So they're really testing the limits of their newfound freedom
They are.
and the patience of their leader.
Yeah.
It sounds like a crash course in nation building,
It does, doesn't it?
with all the messy complexities of just human nature.
Yeah.
How did Moses manage to hold this, fledgling nation together
Right.
in the midst of all this adversity?
Well, this is where the giving of the Ten Commandments comes in.
Okay.
This is a foundational moment
Okay.
in the formation of their identity as a people.
Right.
It's not just a list of rules.
Yeah.
It's a covenant with God.
Right.
It's the set of ethical and moral principles
Yeah.
that provides a framework for their society.
Yeah.
A sense of unity and purpose amidst this chaos of the wilderness.
And the Ten Commandments have had a lasting impact
Oh, absolutely.
that extends far beyond just their original context,
Yeah.
influencing legal systems,
Uh-huh.
moral codes, and spiritual beliefs for millennia.
They touched on these fundamental concepts of justice,
Right.
respect for authority,
Yeah.
and the sanctity of life.
It's true.
And their influence is seen in both religious and secular thought,
Absolutely.
shaping Western civilization in profound ways.
But even with this divine code to guide them,
Yeah.
the journey wasn't easy.
No, it wasn't.
The sources still describe these moments of doubt, rebellion,
Right.
and even a yearning to return back to the familiarity of Egypt.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you, I guess, that human tendency to resist change, even when that change is for the better,
That's right.
is a recurring theme.
It is a recurring theme. The Israelites, like all of us,
Yeah.
struggled with those uncertainties of the unknown.
Right.
They questioned their choices,
Yeah.
their leader, and even their faith in the face of hardship.
And these internal conflicts
Yeah.
are just as important to the story as the grand miracles.
Absolutely. It humanizes the narrative.
For sure.
It reminds us that even in the pursuit of this promised land,
Yeah.
that journey itself is filled with obstacles
Right.
and internal struggles.
Exactly. And speaking of human struggles,
Okay.
there's this episode in the source material that really stands out to me.
Mm-hmm.
This incident at Meribah,
Yes.
it reveals this different side of Moses,
Okay.
a side that ultimately has some pretty profound consequences.
Yeah, so at Meribah, the Israelites are parched,
Okay.
desperate for water,
Makes sense.
and they complain bitterly.
Oh, no.
God instructs Moses to speak to this rock,
Okay.
and water will flow forth,
Okay.
providing for their needs.
Wow.
But this time, something's different.
What happens?
Moses is worn down
I bet.
by this constant complaining,
Right.
frustrated by this lack of faith he perceives in his people.
Yeah.
He reacts in anger.
Oh, no.
And instead of speaking to the rock as instructed,
Yeah.
he strikes it twice with his staff.
Oh, wow. So he takes matters into his own hands
He does.
instead of trusting,
Yeah,
God to provide.
exactly. And this seemingly small act of disobedience
Right.
has some far-reaching implications.
Interesting.
It's seen as a breach of trust,
Make it
a
fun.
failure to fully embody the humility and faith
Right.
required of a leader chosen by God.
Yeah.
It reveals the human flaws, even in a figure as revered as Moses.
It's true. Even the greatest among us, are still human.
Exactly. And the consequences of this outburst,
Yeah.
they go beyond just a mere reprimand.
Oh, really? What happens?
Moses, because of his actions at Meribah,
Okay.
is denied entry into the Promised Land.
Wow. That's a pretty harsh punishment,
It is.
especially considering, everything he had endured,
Right.
all that he had accomplished up to that point.
Exactly. But it really underscores the weight of the responsibility that comes with leadership
Right.
and the importance of remaining aligned with the divine will, even in those moments of, extreme duress.
It definitely adds a layer of tragedy to his story.
It does?
I mean, leading his people out of slavery,
Yeah.
guiding
Yeah.
them through the wilderness, delivering the laws that would shape their society.
Right.
Yet he himself is not allowed to cross the threshold
Right.
into the land that he's fought so hard to reach.
It's this stark reminder
Yeah,
that our actions have consequences.
absolutely.
And even those who perform miracles
Right.
are not exempt from this universal law.
It's true.
But there's another layer to this story,
Okay.
a layer that brings us back to the very heart of our deep dive.
Okay, I'm listening.
Moses dies on Mount Nebo, overlooking the Promised Land,
Right.
and his burial place is never revealed.
The mystery of the hidden grave.
Exactly.
It's like this final act of concealment.
Yeah.
Mirrors the challenges,
Uh-huh.
the hidden struggles,
Right.
and this ultimate denial of entry that marked, the latter part of his life.
That's a profound insight.
It is interesting.
It really suggests that the mystery surrounding Moses' death isn't just some random detail.
Yeah.
It's an integral part of his narrative,
Right.
inviting us to think about the meaning of his life and legacy
Right.
in a much deeper and more nuanced way.
So this brings us to another pivotal question raised by the source material.
Okay.
Why this deliberate act of secrecy?
Right.
What purpose does it serve?
Yeah, that's a question.
In the grand scheme of things.
That has intrigued scholars for centuries.
I bet.
And there are several compelling theories.
Okay.
One suggests that concealing Moses' burial place was to prevent idolatry.
Okay.
The Israelites,
Yeah.
prone to worshiping physical objects,
Right.
might have turned his tomb into a shrine,
Right.
diverting attention from God.
It's fascinating how the source material really highlights this recurring tension
It does.
between the tangible and the intangible.
Yeah.
This human tendency to fixate on the physical manifestations of faith
Yeah.
rather than focusing on the spiritual essence.
Exactly. By hiding Moses' grave,
Yeah.
God, according to this interpretation,
Yeah.
ensures that the focus remains on that covenant,
Right.
the law, the
Yeah.
spiritual journey,
Right.
rather than on a physical location or a revered individual.
So shifting the emphasis from the veneration of a person
Yeah.
to a deeper understanding of the principles
Right.
and beliefs that Moses represented.
Exactly. It's about internalizing the lessons,
Yeah.
not building monuments.
Right. But there are other interpretations as well.
There are.
Some suggesting that the mystery surrounding his death elevates his status. It shrouds him in this aura of mystique,
Right.
placing him in this realm of these legendary figures
Yeah.
who transcend the boundaries of ordinary human existence.
That's-
So the hidden grave becomes a symbol of something larger.
Yes.
This testament to the enduring power of faith and this enigmatic nature of the divine.
It really adds another layer of complexity to an already multifaceted story.
It does. But before we go any further
Okay.
and unravel the possible meanings behind this enduring mystery,
Right.
I think we should let our listeners ponder
Okay.
what we've uncovered so far.
Sounds good.
We've explored the triumphs and the struggles,
Yeah.
the leadership and the flaws,
Right.
the tangible and the intangible.
It's a lot to think about.
We've been on quite a journey, haven't we?
We have.
Through this captivating narrative of Moses' life.
It is a captivating narrative.
From that miraculous escape as a baby
Right.
to that pivotal role leading the Israelites out of Egypt.
Yeah.
We've talked about, the complexities of his leadership, the challenges he faced,
Right.
the profound impact of those laws that he delivered.
The 10 Commandments.
So throughout this entire deep dive, the question of his hidden grave just keeps coming back,
It does.
adding this layer of intrigue
It's a fascinating detail.
to an already fascinating story.
It is.
So why conceal the burial place of such a monumental figure?
Right.
What are we supposed to learn from this? This deliberate act of secrecy.
It's a great question.
It makes you think, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
It invites us to consider not just the historical events, but the deeper symbolic meaning woven into this narrative.
All right. So let's revisit some of the theories that we've touched on.
Okay.
One perspective suggests that the hidden grave was meant to safeguard against idolatry,
Right.
to prevent the Israelites from turning Moses' tomb into an object of veneration.
That's right. The source material often emphasizes this struggle against idolatry.
It does.
This tendency to fixate on the physical rather than embracing the spiritual.
So by concealing Moses' burial place, God ensures that the focus remains on the covenant,
Exactly.
on the law.
On the internalization of those principles.
Yeah.
Rather than on a physical shrine or a specific location.
It's a powerful reminder
It is.
that true faith isn't about, these external displays or pilgrimages to sacred sites.
Exactly.
It's about internal transformation.
Yeah.
It's about committing to live by the principles and values
Absolutely.
embodied in that covenant.
That's what it's all about.
It's about carrying those principles within us,
Yes.
letting them guide our actions and shape our moral compass.
It doesn't matter where you are
Right.
or how close you are to physical relics.
Exactly.
It's about what's inside.
Yeah, and there's another layer of interpretation, too, that we discuss.
Right.
One that sees the hidden grave as elevating Moses' status,
Okay.
shrouding him in this aura of mystique,
It does.
placing him alongside those legendary figures whose stories just transcend
They do.
the boundaries of ordinary human existence.
They become almost mythical.
Right, and this interpretation really emphasizes that symbolic power
It's
of the hidden grave,
Yes.
suggesting that Moses in death becomes more than just a historical figure.
Right.
He transitions into the realm of myth and legend.
Exactly.
He becomes a symbol of the enduring power of faith and the mysterious workings of the divine.
It's a beautiful way to look at it.
It is.
Yeah.
It's almost as if the act of concealing his burial place
Yeah.
amplifies his legacy.
It does.
Makes him larger than life.
Right.
This figure who continues to inspire and intrigue long after his physical presence is gone.
It's like his story lives on in a new way.
Exactly. So the
Right.
hidden grave becomes a catalyst for contemplation.
It does.
It invites us to think about the mysteries of faith,
Mm-hmm.
the nature of leadership,
Yeah,
the enduring power of stories that transcend time and place.
absolutely.
It reminds us that some truths are best left veiled.
That's a good point.
Prompting us to seek a deeper meaning and understanding
To dig a little deeper.
through introspection
Yeah.
and engaging with the complexities of the narrative.
Right.
And maybe that's the ultimate takeaway
Okay.
from this deep dive into this mystery
What is it?
of Moses' hidden grave.
Okay.
It's not about finding a physical location
Right.
or uncovering some definitive answer.
Yeah.
It's about embracing the journey of exploration,
Exactly.
the ongoing search for meaning
It's a process.
that lies at the heart of faith and human experience.
It really is. It's about the journey.
So as we wrap up this exploration,
Okay.
we turn it over to you, our listener.
That's right.
What resonates with you about Moses' story?
Yeah.
What significance do you find in the mystery of his hidden grave?
It's something to think about.
We encourage you to continue pondering these questions.
Yes.
Delve deeper into the source material.
Yeah.
And arrive at your own interpretation.
Absolutely.
The beauty of these narratives is that they spark individual reflection.
That's right.
They inspire a very personal connection
Yeah.
to these timeless themes that they embody.
And there's no single right answer.
Exactly.
The value is in the process
Right.
of seeking and questioning
Yeah.
and engaging with these enduring mysteries.
So keep exploring.
Yeah. Keep diving deep.
And may your own journey be filled with wonder and discovery.
That's what we wish for all of you.